Hello, welcome to Football United TV. I'm your host Matt King. I'm here with Bills and I'm here with Joe. Joe is a Spurs fan, Bills is a Villa fan, and of course they are playing this weekend to start off the Premier League. But we're going to start off quickly with the Champions League final, Spurs versus Liverpool. Joe, how did you feel about that after having you on just before the final? We had a good chat.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think from anyone that's watched that video, they know that I didn't go in with a huge amount of confidence. I think the thing that actually disappointed me more than the result, which I went in expecting Liverpool to win off the back of the season they had, was the fact that we bossed Liverpool for the whole game. And that I was not expecting. I think when you play that well in a final and don't win, it is very heartbreaking. I think Bills and I spoke about it, about the fact that the penalty killed the game at the start. Obviously, you guys are over there. I'm guessing the reaction from the fan parts over there about that. I think most people agree that it was harsh. I think you brought VAR into the Champions League, and then they don't use it in that scenario, which I thought was bizarre because, yes, I'm biased, but it very much looked like Sissoko was pointing to the defender where he wanted him to go. So is that a deliberate action to handball it? In my opinion, no. However, watch the video and make a decision, and the referee didn't do that. So you could say that's why we lost the game. I think we had loads of chances that we should have put away and we didn't. So you just have to say, put your hands up on the night and say, it was fantastic. It was a great honour to be there. And, we came up short in the end, but, Liverpool, 97 points in the league. They deserved a trophy that year, so fair play to them.
Agreed, yeah. And also, you gain from these things, you lose from these things.
Yeah.
What the occasion is, when it kind of works out for you or when it doesn't, that's kind of the lottery, isn't it?
Well, Spurs spent more as well because of reaching the final as well, so I guess it's helped you out, isn't it, in the transfer for this season?
As far as I'm aware, I'm not Daniel Levy's accountant, but I don't think that he's had to spend any of his own money yet. I think that it is Champions League revenue that got us Tanguy Ndombele, so that's great.
Good.
Yeah, he looks mustard, doesn't he? And I know they say anyone can look good on YouTube, but I do remember him from last season. I remember watching those Lyon games, the home and the away leg, and where Lyon went to the Etihad and just smashed City, and I remember thinking that he looked a player.
Wow.
So when we said we were linked with him, I thought, well, great, but we're linked with everybody. Every year Spurs get linked with everybody, and then always they go to Man United or someone. But the fact that we managed to land him, and I still didn't fully believe it until I saw him holding the Spurs shirt on the website.
Always wait until that, don't you?
Wait till the shirt reveal, until you're really confident.
And you've had to look through 12 players this season.
I think it's still
shirts.
going up.
Aston Villa have done great for their signings this summer, right?
Even at this point, I'm still not 100% sure how many players we've got in now. We definitely got over 12. Have we gone over 12?
So
no,
recently you've just got Marvellous, haven't you? From
what a great name. I've never seen the guy play.
Marvellous buy.
Hopefully, we'll see how. I'm not sure he's going to be one of those nailed on starters. I haven't really seen much of him, but there's a good buzz about him. Tom Heaton seems to be a really, really good bit of business. I mean, I would have said that anyway, but I've seen some of the
international.
Yeah, and I think Burnley are going to miss him. It was 8 million, I think it was reported for. That is a great price for a guy with that kind of talent, and he's proven it. I think we're ready to go as far as our backline goes and the keeper goes. It's going to be really difficult working out who the starting 11 is going to be.
Yeah.
Price tags will probably play some kind of part, give you a little clue as to who might be starting, but it shouldn't.
Yeah.
I hope we don't run by this. But Dean Smith's smart enough to go ahead and, he's signing players that will suit his style of play. He's bringing an attacking style of play to the Premier League, and that's exciting. Could backfire, but at least if it does backfire, we've gone down.
Did for Fulham, didn't it? But
it did.
Well, the spending there's a bit different. Remember, Fulham bought the majority of those players on deadline day. Dean Smith, I think 5 of those players, 3 of them we had on loan last year, 2 of them he's worked with before, and we've had most of the pre-season with most of the players to go ahead and do that now.
How has the pre-season gone in your eyes so far? Like, you think you've done quite well?
Won everything, conceded very little, not playing against particularly great teams until the last one the other day, a 3-1 away win against Red Bull Leipzig, which was actually,
They've been good in the Bundesliga last
been very good.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of decent players come out of RB Leipzig as well.
They're almost kind of like what Wolves have done, coming up from the Championship into the Premier League, and then just kind of felt very comfortable. I feel like when Leipzig came up, they've kind of done the same. They've just kind of been very, very comfortable. I mean, they were even pushing for they were pushing for the league, I think, at one point. Leipzig.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, and there was a lot of hostility from other clubs as well, wasn't there? Like Dortmund and stuff about the fact that they're owned by Red Bull, and they don't really like it. They had a lot of stick, but I think it's a great thing. I think it's a good thing for the club and for the city.
It's not the first time something like that's happened either. You know, the fact that they've just got a brand attached to it, and a brand that's kind of famous for taking over sports now. They started with Formula One, maybe, I think, and they're really investing in all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
I think it's quite easy to sneer out. I think if you're like a fan of one of those elite teams, if you're a fan of like Real Madrid and you're playing like FC Energy Drink in the Champions League, then you can sniff at it and say, "Oh, look at our great history," and then there's you with your Red Bull.
But then think of stuff like, okay, take Juventus for example. When what was the name of the Gallipoli scandal? Whatever it was, when they had the referees being locked in changing rooms. And, a few years back when got
a fan wasp coming over here.
when Juventus got relegated, they held on to a lot of their star players. Who they keep hold of, people like Buffon and Trezeguet, I think. I mean, we're going back a while now, but what's that? That was just fueled by an institution. At the end of the day, it's still a business. It's still people that kind of got way more influence and way more power, way more financial power, in fact, than the rest of the league. And it's sort of they're just able to retain because of that. I don't think it's actually much different. Look at City, look at Chelsea. Interesting comparison with Wolves there as well, actually, because it was like the Portuguese consortium going in, etc. They made it work.
Yeah. I mean, I personally wasn't surprised by how Wolves did well then last year. What they've spent, but I do think with Villa. I was listening to a podcast earlier where they were talking about the two best teams in terms of transfers so far, and Aston Villa was the first name that came up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I mean, in my head, I'm thinking Aston Villa and Leicester, and those were the two teams that these guys said. So it shows we're on the same wave.
Yeah, I suppose it makes sense.
I think Villa have spent well. I mean, they've spent a lot, but they've spent well. I think on the players that they've got.
Did you hear the stat? I mean, United will have overtaken them now with Maguire and. Maybe Arsenal, probably not Arsenal at this point, no. But yeah, before United, it was only Barcelona, Real, Juve, and Atleti who'd spent more than Villa in the world.
Really?
yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
But no, I think Tom Heaton, great signing. Do you think that you would have kept Tammy Abraham if Chelsea didn't have a transfer?
That's a very, very good question.
Yeah, I think he seemed to like it there, and the rumours were flying around. There's still a couple, but I think Chelsea need to give him a shot. I think they would have brought someone else in though. It's Chelsea, they're not famed for giving talent a chance. The Lampard effect maybe would add something to that. I don't know. He's obviously brought a couple of the young players back from Derby, and he's not going to use them back. What do you think? I'm not so convinced.
It's a weird one with Chelsea because I think it's one of these situations where if Sarri had taken a lot of youth players up, Abramovich, although his grip on Chelsea is loosening, might have thought we're here to buy Galactico type players and bring them in and get success quickly. I don't want to see youth. Whereas if Lampard does it, it's like, it's Frankie Lampard from Chelsea, really local lad.
It is. It's kind of. It's like he's one of only very very small amount of people that can do it.
Exactly.
Terry, I imagine if he were to leave Villa and take over, similar idea.
So when Harry said, "My boy, Frankie,"
my boy,
he's gonna be something. He is.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting. With his connection to Harry, how his transfer dealings are going to be when he gets the opportunity as well.
wheeler dealer.
How do you feel about the Tottenham pre-season going on? I mean, obviously you won that cup. Was it yesterday?
Yes. The prestigious Audi Cup.
Yeah, celebrated like it was a Champions League.
Absolutely.
Well, they said, Sissoko said every cup matters.
Every cup matters.
He lifted it like he won the Champions League. You see that?
I thought it was hilarious when they scored the goals. Who scored the first goal for us? It was it Moura?
Was it Moura? Yeah, brilliant.
No, it was Lamela.
Lamela.
Lamela. Sorry, it was Lamela. Yeah, Moura has scored in pre-season as well. When Lamela scored the first goal, it was that kind of it's the pre-season little handshake. You don't over-celebrate. Ericsson scored again. It was the same. It was that it doesn't mean anything. Then all of a sudden, Bayern Munich get 2 goals back, and it's like it becomes a game. And then you have to go to a penalty shootout, which is nerve-wracking.
You mean Inter Milan?
Sorry?
Yesterday in Milan.
No, I was talking about the Audi Cup. Bayern Munich in the Audi Cup.
Sorry, so what was the cup yesterday? What was that all
yesterday was the International Champions Cup.
Oh, okay.
How many of these cups do they have?
No, I know.
Sorry,
How
so
many
many.
cups do they still
There's
do
so
down
many
there?
pre-season cups. We had like Arsenal with at Barcelona at the new camp yesterday. A cup for them as well.
One game and you win a trophy. The Audi Cup was a game where you had to play a semi-final and then a final. So it was we beat Madrid 1-0. And then we had to go to Munich and play them, and then So yeah, but what I was going to say is that you don't take it seriously because it's like, oh, it's pre-season, or does the goals don't matter. And then all of a sudden, when you go to a penalty shootout and you win it, and then it's all this stuff about we were 2-0 up, and then you go, and then it's 2-2, and it's like, oh, the minute you wave a trophy under Spurs' nose, it's like even in a pre-season game, the minute you put a trophy in front of them, they go Spursy, and now they've dropped their 2-0 lead, and now they're going to lose the Audi Cup, even though it's meaningless. So when we actually went and won it, there was this weird irony where all the players kind of got round and they were like, "Well, it's the Audi Cup," and then, but it's almost like, you know, they say many a true word spoken in jest.
Yeah.
It was almost like they were kind of pretending that they didn't care, but really they did care.
Yeah,
and Sissoko was the one player that really took that to the limit, where he's like, lifted it. Yeah, Moura on the other hand took it very seriously. Lucas Moura, he handed the trophy to Lucas Moura after he lifted it, and Moura took it and was walking around with it and taking photos with his family, did an interview holding it. So I think Lucas Moura doesn't care what the cup is, he just likes to hold the silver.
He might still feel a bit hard done by from the final, you know?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
a different...
that hat trick in the semi, he really wanted to like make sure he got the
I reckon he's probably still waking up screaming in the night about when he was at PSG and they went to the new camp, and they were a cert to get into the next round of the Champions League, and then Barcelona smashed 6 goals past them, and then they won on aggregate, you may remember.
Yeah, you'll get flashbacks of that, won't
He's
you?
gonna get I reckon he's getting haunted by that even to this day, I think.
Well, more I know a good witch doctor. We can sort that out for you. No worries.
That's probably why he moved to England.
It's all right.
So we're going to talk about, aren't we? We're going to talk about the game, the first fixture for you two guys.
And the season as
Battling
well, you
each
know.
other.
It's,
That too.
We're starting a whole season here, and I don't know. My prediction for the
Can
game.
we go Aston Villa first? Yes, because you're the newly promoted. Let's and possibly
Season-
underdog of the game.
Season or game?
I want to talk about the game first, and then we'll
Alright.
talk about the season afterwards.
Despite my opinions on what Villa's season is going to end up like, changing recently, my prediction for the game is still a lucky 1-1, I reckon. I reckon Spurs are going to come out firing, in all truth. But, like I've said, Dean Smith, he likes to put his teams out there to attack and surprise people. I think they're going to cause a lot of surprise in the Premier League. I think when we lose, we might lose heavily as a result of it. But that's okay.
I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Well, I certainly hope not, but I still think, you know, it's looking really positive, and I think we're going to take it to Spurs. Spurs are going to get a little bit surprised. I do think they'll take control of the game eventually, though. I think Kane's finally got that thing out of his head about scoring in August. I think he managed it last year. He seemed fine. Yeah. Really seemed to be making a difference there, didn't it? I think he'll make his usual impact on the game. This whole thing about Eriksen might make a difference. A lot of people have been saying his heart hasn't really looked in it in kind of the pre-season.
Well, he's missed 2 penalties.
Yeah, and this.
Well, this is interest, isn't there, from Real Madrid as well, that they possibly might go for him if they can't get Pogba.
Yeah, they're two kind of different
Probably
players,
swirling
though,
around in your
it's an
mind,
odd
you know,
one.
like Harry Maguire recently. Am I going to go? Am I not? Like, are you putting up the price? And like, what's going on? I want to
that was more about sort of the business end of it, I think. You know, the money basically with Maguire. Real Madrid, do they really need Eriksen? I mean, with Modric there already. But anyway, yeah, he's such an influential character. He can really, you know, grab a game by the whatever, by the horns, sure. If he's not firing, then I think we've got a better chance. But it's probably 2-1 Spurs. But I reckon we can squeeze 1-1. You know, make a good impression, good account of ourselves at the very least.
What do you think about what Tottenham can do against Aston Villa?
Well, I tell you what, like Aston Villa is Aston Villa.
Bad thing.
Yeah, it's a tough game. It is, because I don't look at Aston Villa as, you know, most fans will say you'd like to start the season off against a newly promoted club, but I don't look at Aston Villa as a minnow team, really. I think that they've got Premier League pedigree, and I think that they've signed really well in the summer, and it is a free hit for Aston Villa. They don't have to it's their first game of the new season. They're in the new Tottenham Stadium, first time they've played there. For them, it's like party time. It's like we're back in the big time. They can just go all out, and losing to us on the first game of the season is not going to affect whether they stay up or not. So I don't actually think that they're going to have anything to fear going into this game, and I think that whereas with us there is a pressure because we don't want to look Spursy losing the opening game in our new stadium to a newly promoted side. So I think it's going to be tough. And I'll tell you what, we've been scoring in pre-season, but we've been conceding as well. Real Madrid was the only game we kept a clean sheet, I think, all of pre-season. We went 1-0 up yesterday. I was at the game, ended 1-1. We went 2-0 up against Munich, ended 2-2, had to go to penalties. So you can't take anything for granted in the Premier League, and I think Aston Villa are a tough test. I would just like to think that maybe I would think let's say we go 1-0 up, but then Villa come back, then we get some scrappy, lucky goal towards the end. It sucks the life out of them, and then maybe we go score again. I don't know. I'm going to say a very optimistic 3-1 Spurs, but I think that we could just as easily lose or draw this game.
I like what you said, though. I mean, even if it were 3-1, and that's perfectly feasible result, we could still go ahead, take that, make a good account of ourselves, and then.
Honestly, I'm not.
You really think so?
I think it would just be the Spursiest thing.
I think it could be a tie right between the middle.
Well, the thing is, we've gone to Arsenal Stadium when they were kind of, well, I wouldn't say better than now. I do kind of like the look of the Arsenal team at the moment right now too. But a few seasons back when we were last in the Premier League, we went to them on the opening day of the season to the Emirates and beat them 3-1.
Was that Antonio Luna?
Yeah, you got the third. That's right.
Yeah.
Nice classic counter attack.
Yeah.
Taking the pressure and that. Yeah. Tony Moon.
I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm going to remember Arsenal.
Touche. To a particularly bad Aston Villa team at that point. Yeah.
Even I remember Man U losing to Aston Villa every time. But
yeah. There's not many of those, but we got a
remember winning as well, though.
Most people got one of those.
What about your season, though, Bill?
Yes. Well, that's the thing. Now, the last time we talked about it, I was pretty negative, and I got some bad feedback. My opinion has not changed because of that feedback.
Never should change. It's your opinion, and that's the way it is.
It's because Dean Smith is actually a massive legend. It looks like we've got, not just in terms of the players we've bought, hopefully that'll work, like already kind of gone on, but also the back room. And the investment as well, the Egyptian owners, and also the kind of the fan base they're creating. So everywhere I follow Villa on social media, etc., we've just got hordes and hordes of not just Egyptian but general North Africans.
And Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, he's always been there.
Oh
yeah, he's a Villa fan.
He's a pure Villa fan.
And Prince William.
So what's that?
Prince William.
Yeah, and David Cameron.
He's a bit of Burnley as well. It's a weird one.
I'm not sure, but I don't know. So I'm now actually gonna semi-confidently say that we're going to beat the Drop by a couple of places. Okay. I think 14th or 15th.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah.
No, I would
14th or 15th, because now there is a little element, like I mentioned in the last one, about just having 3 or 4 teams that are worse than us effectively. I actually think, despite the fact that we only finished 5th last season, we didn't get the automatics, I still think the 2 automatic promotions are going to go down. I think Sheffield United and Norwich. I'd love to see Sheffield United stay up, but they just don't have the pedigree.
That's interesting, because I feel like Norwich and Villa have got more chance than staying up than some of the teams, like for the likes of like Brighton or
Newcastle. For me, the unrest at Newcastle is going to really mess around unless Bruce just like somehow pulls it out of the bag.
Bruce, the former Sunderland manager.
Yeah, exactly. Former Villa manager. We sacked him last year. I actually think he's an okay manager, but he's not the guy to follow someone like Benitez. Who they were lucky
he looks like a rugby player, the way his nose is squashed in so much.
Yeah. Do you know what I want to do? I want to read his books. Apparently he wrote 3. He has written 3 football-related crime novels.
Oh, wow.
Really?
There you go, you learn something every day.
So there's some free publicity,
Salute to Steve Bruce.
And I want to read...
Not just that manager that gets people out of the drop and etc.
I don't read fiction. I haven't finished a book with fiction for, 10 years maybe, so yours will be the first in the decade.
And he does a little bit of MCing as well, if you didn't know.
Really?
Yeah, Stevie MC Bruce.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you, none of these things would make me feel confident about avoiding relegation if I was a Newcastle fan.
So Joe, so how are you feeling about the season for Tottenham?
Well, race for top 4, I think, really. I think that there is... I think in terms of the strengthening of the squad, I think even if we get Lo Celso over the line, I think if we've got Ndombele, possibly Lo Celso. I think Ryan Sessegnon is a player we've been linked with for like the last 2 seasons, and I wasn't that fussed with him. And
always him and Grealish, I've noticed that.
Yeah, Grealish, but then when you came up, we knew we weren't going to get Grealish. But then I thought, with Sessegnon, I never that excited about him. I just kind of thought, he's not really proven at top level, and he could be one of these that he comes in and everyone's hyped him up from playing from like Fulham and that, and then when he gets on a bigger stage, he's not actually the player that we all thought he was. However, because of the situation we're in at the moment, where we've sold Trippier, Foyth is injured. Danny Rose, the club have said to him, if you'd like to move, we'd like to help you. We just need to find you a club. It's just like, well, who are you going to, play in these kind of like wing back positions?
Danny's Cadbury Roses.
I know.
Maybe
can't get rid of him, can you?
Suggest a style change, maybe. I was really surprised by selling Trippier too, but maybe they're planning to be less dependent on fullbacks, which does not sound like Pochettino's style. So he historically has always liked a kind of strong, energetic presence in his team along the flanks, you know, from the back. But it is confusing as hell. What do you think? Say top four. What do you reckon how's it gonna finish?
I'm not worried about Chelsea really. I'm not.
Do you think they'll push Champions League instead then? Maybe.
I mean, Hugo Lloris has come out after the friendly yesterday interview and said top four is our aim. To be honest with you, I don't know whether it's one of these Pochettino things of keep expectations low, and then you're not disappointed. I mean, I do think that Liverpool haven't had a great pre-season, but then again, most people say pre-season doesn't matter. They haven't had Mane and Salah for the large part of it, and they are their two main hit men. So
Salah looked great yesterday though. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, straight back in. I don't know. I mean, I would say I'd be happy enough with top four, just so long as we get the right recruits in. I think there is going to be a bedding in period. I mean, I think even if we do, I think if we get Ndombele, Lo Celso, and Sessegnon, because as I say, Sessegnon now seems like he would be a player that I would be more excited to get. It reminds me a bit of Harry Maguire in a way. Like in terms of the mentality of it, where you look at people, you look at them and say Harry Maguire's not worth 80 million or 85 million, but then you think yes, but Man United really need a player like that. So if you need that kind of player, you will pay over the odds.
Well, yeah, it was like
in order to get it.
And
That's
Salah
kind of
doesn't
how I
want to
feel
sell
about
and-
Sessegnon. It's kind of like, I'm not saying about the price. I just mean my mentality around the player. I looked at him and thought I'm not that fussed about him. Whereas now I'm thinking we could actually use a player like that because we have lost Trippier and because we've got question marks over our other defenders. Actually, now he seems like more of an important signing than when we were first being sort of linked with him. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, it was like what Roy Hodgson said today about the Harry Maguire deal. The fact that you can't be looking back at the 1920s and being like, well, you know, this great player went for free, like, why isn't it the same?
No, of course.
It's a different world, it's a different ball game now. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's worth, like, he's the best defender in the world because he's gone for 80 million, does it?
I mean, I don't think a pint of Stella's worth £4.80, but that's still
Yeah, right.
No, I remember used to pay £2.50, you know what I mean?
But it's spiking really hard every year as well. That's the other thing. It's not just that. Well, I think the Neymar transfer was kind of what started all of this. But you know, every year it's jumping dramatically. The average players, I'm not saying Maguire's average. I think he's a great defender.
Yeah, he's
but,
even Man City wanted him, you know, like.
Oh
it's too
yeah.
much money.
But
like.
no. If you look lower down the food chain, you know, you see some players. Well, I'll give one example from Villa. Tyrone Mings, actually, 26.5 million. He'll come to with if all the performance bonuses or whatever else the add-ons come together, you know, and he's fantastic for Villa. But that's an inflated market right there, where Tyrone Mings is worth that kind of money, you know, especially, you know, joining a team he's already been on loan for a season with, etc., and clearly not wanted by his original team, blah blah blah, you know. So what happens next? Like the guy, he does look amazing, just like that Portuguese lad that Atleti bought, and I've forgotten his name, something Felix.
João Felix.
João Felix, sure, yeah.
From Benfica.
Yeah, exactly. That's insane money. The guy's barely played, you know. I think he's got 6 months of first team under his belt.
He scored the other day though.
And he looks brilliant. I watched some of him. I watched him in action. He looks fantastic, but still, you know, it's just the market we're dealing with. Saying Maguire and Ronaldo, that's not a comparison.
No, of course.
There's
No.
almost a decade apart.
So I want to get just to quickly end it off now. Match prediction: the score in one full hit. What's the score?
Oh right, yeah. I'll commit to one. I'm going to say 1-0. I'm going to go for it. Yeah.
1-0?
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with 3-1 Spurs.
3-1
But
Spurs.
I'm still not confident.
And
Spurs.
is that Spurs? Is
I'll
it
be
the
there.
Tottenham Hotspurs?
I'm going to be in the Spurs end.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be there at all because I'm already on a long weekend in Nottingham. So
I did it at
I'm
Wembley.
going to wear a Joe mask.
I did it at Wembley when Man United played Tottenham and we won 1-0.
I've done it a couple of times
I
with
did
Villa
it
before.
hush.
That's me anyway.
So thank you very much for tuning in, and please do subscribe. Bills, thank you very much for joining.
Always a
us,
pleasure.
Joe.
And we haven't asked you about Man United, so I guess they're going to have to watch that other video that you
They'll have to watch the other video. I posted it up about an hour or two ago, so check that out. And yeah, thanks for joining. And sayonara. Bye bye.